Hi, welcome back to Dear Aunt Susan Advice on Being Human. I'm your host, Aunt Susan Patang, and today we're going to talk about spirituality. Wow, what a thing. The last couple of episodes, we've been talking about some of the life foundations that I teach my clients, and this is a really good way to create a foundation from which you can launch your life, for lack of a better word. We talked about values. And then we talked about purpose. And these are the things that are going to give us the baseline for our behavior, for our attitudes, for how we interact with the rest of the world. And spirituality is the next leg in that stool. We had values and purpose, and now spirituality, God, and the big stuff. So I challenge you to, to really dig deep and look at what you really believe, not what you were taught as a kid, not what you think you should believe, but what do you really believe? Why do you think human beings are here? Why do you think you specifically are here? And that now is kind of hearkening back to your purpose that we worked on from the last episode, isn't it? I want you to have an open mind and to think about how things feel to you. Like go through, write down what you think. Is there a God? What does he look like? How does he behave? Is he interacting with us or not? Even if you're an atheist, you can have a spiritual system. It doesn't mean that you necessarily believe in God. It just means that you believe that there's something bigger in the universe than you are, which is the power of science, the power of nature, God, the aliens who may be watching us, like ants in an ant farm, if that's what you believe. It could be any one of a number of things. Some people think that we're just all in a video game, that this is all one gigantic video game, that our reality. So what do you think? What do you believe? Why are we here? Why are you specifically here? What is it that we were put here to do, if anything? Is sentience, or the ability to think, just the next step in evolution? Or were we created this way so that nature could observe and describe itself? There are so many different things that you could embrace and believe in. So again, I challenge you to write down what you believe in. Do you believe in a God or not? What does that God look like? What is the force that drives nature? Why do you think humanity is here? What purpose were we put here to serve, if any? What does God look like? How does he behave? How do I fit as an individual into the interconnected network that is the universe? Because when you think about it, there's a couple of reasons why it's important to believe that there's something bigger than we are in the universe. And one of those is because, from a sociological standpoint, we have to be able to fit into and interact with everybody else in the circle that is our world, in our corner of the world, of the universe. We are all interconnected in some way. And it's hard to, unless you live in a cabin out in the middle of nowhere in Montana, it's really hard to separate yourself from the rest of humanity. We all have to interact with each other at some point. And how we do that is determined by our values, our purpose, and our spirituality. So it's important for us to have the idea that we are not the biggest, bestest thing in the universe, that there is something bigger than us. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't have healthy self-esteem, because we should, but that also doesn't mean that we should think that we're better than everybody else, because then we won't mesh well with the rest of our corner of the universe. It's like putting a stick in your bicycle wheel. It's going to make the wheel stop turning. You don't want to stop the wheel turning in your corner of the universe, because that wheel is part of a cog that connects to another wheel, which is your region, which is connected to a bigger cog, which is your state, your area of the country, our country, the planet, the universe, all right, the solar system. It just gets bigger and bigger, okay? We are just smaller and smaller portions of all of these little cogs that all fit together. Okay. So that's what I want you to remember is we are all part of this system. How do I fit into it? And what do I think about what's at the bigger end of all those cogs? So think about that. Ask yourself some questions. Here we go. What do you think a good life is? And I mean good from the standpoint of good versus evil and, good versus bad, but also pleasant versus unpleasant. Um, how does that align with your concept of God and your values and your purpose? Okay, these things are all connected. Okay, who are you and who are you really? Not who you say you are, not who you tell you what you tell your friends you believe. What do you really believe? Who are you really? Okay, and be honest. And if you have to burn it when it's done, then burn it when it's done after you write it down. But look into that. Examine that. Who am I really? What do I really think about these things? The world. Do you trust God or the universe, or do you not trust God and the universe? Do you think there's good and evil or not, or just neutral reality? Just some people believe that there are just the forces of chaos or random versus order. Okay, and that's a scientific concept. It's chaos versus order rather than good versus evil. How do you fall down on that spectrum? What do you think? What could change your trust in a higher power? What is reality? Look into that concept. Are we just avatars in a gigantic video game? Are we some alien kid science experiment? Is everything just a massive energy network? Think about that, because atoms, when you look at an atom, it's mostly empty space. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. How much of matter is really matter and how much is empty space? Okay, is what we see with our eyes what is really there? That's another concept, because what I see as the color blue might not be what you see. We both call it blue, but it might not be blue to both of us. It might not look the same. And then where do you fit into all this reality? How do you fit into your network? What mindset do you think is important for living your life? Should we have fun with it? Should we take it more seriously? Somewhere in between? What degree of involvement and interaction with the world, quote unquote, do you think is important or necessary? And all of this self-knowledge and self-discovery is important because what it does is it helps us define who we are and how we fit into this network that is reality, quote unquote. And that's why it's important, again, to define your values, define what you think your purpose right now is, define what your spirituality and your spiritual beliefs are, and every once in a while, go back and look at it again and check it again. Here's the commercial. Oh, I'm sorry. That noise you heard was me hitting a file folder. Here's the commercial. I help people who come from dysfunctional families get the tools they need to deal with stress, to deal with the BS of life, to deal with other people's crap and other people's drama, and to learn how to wake up happy in the morning, because that's all we want really, is to be happy, right? To wake up happy and to feel good. Another thing I have to mention to you is that I do work with teens from 14 up. A lot of times, especially now that we're at the tail end of the whole COVID thing, our teens are struggling. They're under a tremendous amount of stress. A lot of the safety nets that we had for them are being eroded because of all the craziness that's happening in the world. And they're developing social anxiety. They're having trouble getting motivated. They're spending too much time in bed. They're becoming depressed. There are problems that are arising because of the homeschooling and everything else. So if you've got a teen that you think might benefit from learning getting some new tools and getting some new life skills, here's what I want you to do. Go to www.thequietzonecoaching.com/services. If you go to the services page, it will tell you all the different things that I offer. And what I want you to click on is the Essential Life Skills Diagnostic session. It is free. And what we will do is we will sit down, see what's going on in your life or your child's life, and try to see where we can go from there, give you some real actionable strategies to make things better and to learn how to wake up happy in the morning. So I will talk to you again next week. Until then, have an awesome, amazing, wonderful week. Talk to you then.